Top 5 impact Big 12 men's basketball transfers. This, if you look at what happened with Hunter Dickinson today, and you look at who's transferred so far, of the top 15 transfers, these are 5 of them in the Big 12 so far. And look, it's the best, pound-for-pound basketball league going, so it's not so much of a surprise. But when you talk about, just the very tippy top of this and how they've cleaned up, it's really quite amazing. So let's start with number 5, LJ Cryer at Houston. I'm really interested to see how this fits in that Houston's going to have to play defense around LJ. LJ, the heart is willing, but he's not a very long guy, so he has got mismatched on defense. He's going to score. He's going to score, and they need that very badly. This seems to be a good match, but I'm curious to see what happens when Houston doesn't have 5 elite defenders on the floor, which Kelvin Sampson has seemed to have for the last decade or so.
Yeah, LJ will be a good pickup, or it was a good pickup for them. And, I'm excited to see what he can do there. Kelvin Sampson's a great coach, so I think that in that regard he made a great decision. Being back close to home will be very cool for him, but does feel like he feels like he left some on the table, and that's why he's got some more to prove. And I know part of that's the position. He wants to be able to play point guard and show that he can do that. So he'll have a great opportunity, and he'll definitely be impactful one way or the other.
Man, that happens so quickly. A lot of times the transfer portal doesn't, but that one did, and I think he's going to have a huge year at Houston.
Yeah, I do. I think
he's going to have to learn to play defense better, which he would have had to do if he was coming back to Baylor. And Sampson, of course, we know he knows how to do that.
I just wonder if it's just a physical thing. Like he's got bad matchups because he's not short, but he's also not Mr. Wingspan or anything like that. So his body's not necessarily set up to play the kind of defense if you have those bad matchups in it. Number 4, Tylor Perry from K-State. At K-State now. Goes in to take the place of, now I'm blanking on his name. I had it all in my head. The fantastic point guard that played for them.
Knowles.
Knowles, who was great down the stretch for them. And they might, again, get Johnson back, so that team could be loaded for bear and making another run trying to contend for the Big 12 title. But Jerome Tang knows what he's doing. This is the first, like we said yesterday, we mentioned it, in the Scott Drew Circle transfer. So Grant McCasland, who went to Texas Tech. I do wonder, I guess maybe he'd want to follow him there or just liked the Jerome Tang opportunity better. But this guy can play in the Big 12 and will do very well.
Yeah, he's very, very good. And, Texas Tech's recruiting has kind of gotten off to a little bit of a sluggish start since Grant McCasland arrived. He has his specific type player. You would wonder that, why would he not just go play for Grant? But Kansas State's very much involved in playing for Jerome Tang's a hell of a deal. He proved that last year.
Yep. Number 3, Jesse Edwards at West Virginia, who comes from Syracuse. This kind of surprised me, but I mean, look, the coach is retiring and all this thing there, or whatever you want to call what happens with Jim Boeheim after this year. But he's leaving Syracuse to West Virginia, and this is very publicly all about NIL, and Huggy Bear is going full tilt into the basketball NIL game. And they went and got Jesse Edwards. This is going to be important because he's a big man. The guy who's top of this list, I think everybody will know who it is. They're going to have to play them at least twice to get through. But West Virginia's been kind of middling in the Big 12 for a couple years, and Bob Huggins is not going to like that. He's getting aggressive. He's getting aggressive now in the transfer portal. This is not the only transfer he has, but this is one that he hit out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't the only one. I mean, they went heavy, as you said. So they're going all in and trying to be like everybody else who's dove right into NIL. It's unavoidable at this point. You're either in it or you're not. And if you're not, then you don't really have a great chance of succeeding. I think especially in basketball now at this point. But he's made his moves. We'll see how they pay off for him. But you're right in saying that they've kind of just been there for a couple years now, it feels like, or just sort of, oh, yeah, Bob Huggins in West Virginia. Like, I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just I don't think of them right away like I would have probably a few years ago. Because a lot of that, too, is just the Big 12 coaching's gotten so good that there's others that you think of that have all gone and done big things. Like Scott Drew's a national championship head coach now. Jerome Tang had a sensational first year and so on. So part of that's just what others have done. But, yeah, they're back. So Huggy Bear should be pretty happy right now.
He's too good of a coach to let the team go on as long as they have. And a part of it's just adjusting to.
Well, he didn't know what to do with it.
The modern part of it. But I love to think of him like going to the NIL guys. Go, listen, you got to crap or get off the pot here, guys.
Right. Yeah.
I don't need any of this mess anymore. Like, I'm
Well,
tired.
he might know some people.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, hey, you want to help? Do you like us winning? Well, this is how we have to do it now. So, number 2, Max Abmas on his way from RRU to Texas. If number 1 on this list hadn't have happened, had gone somewhere else, he would be number 1. This is an absolute home run for anybody who gets them, and it's an absolute home run for Texas. Again, you give me a roster, and Texas just picked up another transfer, I believe, from UTA about 45 minutes ago. But if you give me Dylan Dessou and Max Abmas on the roster, I am not as much worried about who the other 3 guys are on the floor at any given time. I think that's a good place to start. Now, not to saying that you don't have to worry about that, but that really clears up a lot of things and creates a couple different matchup nightmares for people because Abmas can score all game long, and Dessou showed what he is turning into towards the end of last year. So, I guess at the end, when he coach made the statement like, "Look, I built some of this roster too." He did it right there, hit it out of the park with Max Abmas.
I just saw a note from Kirk Bowles. You remember former UT guard Lance Blanks?
Yeah, I didn't mention that.
Did you?
I think I did that during. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I did it during the break. You're right. Yeah.
He passed away at age 56. Apparently,
Terrible.
Played for Texas in 88, 89, and 90. So just wanted to pass that along because that was from Kirk Bowles just a few minutes ago. But yeah, I mean, Abmas was wanted by a lot of different teams. A lot of big programs wanted that guy for a reason, and Texas won out in the end. And like you said, with what they've got coming back, all the confidence surrounding Rodney Terry. The thing is they're going to have huge expectations now. I mean, this isn't going to be like just keep the ship floating.
That too.
We'll keep that floating too, I guess. But it's not going to be, kind of like this question. Like, he's the coach now. There's no like he's got to earn it or blah blah blah. So with that out of the way, I'm curious to see how that potentially. Just relaxes things a little bit as far as being able to block out all that outside noise and just deal with the expectations themselves. And, as far as the roster goes, I mean, that's a huge get for them. So they're going to have a lineup of talent, no doubt.
And number 1, Hunter Dickinson at Kansas. Bill Self has, when he has a big man who can dominate, really is problematic.
This is just so you'll get a warm dinner tonight.
No, look, this is true. That doesn't matter. I'll mess up something before I get home and be in trouble. So it's fine.
Yeah, it's a huge deal for them. It's
huge.
hell of a pickup.
Because you think about like how good were they with McCormick? How good were they with Udoka? When they've won when they've won titles, they've had really good big men and I could make the argument that Hunter Dickinson is better than both those guys, than Udoka and McCormick, with what he's done at Michigan and stepping in. Now, we'll see. I mean, again, I make the argument. I can also make the argument the other way that those guys were.
He's a hell of a player.
He's a really good player.
And you would think that Kansas will be just really good with him.
Yeah.
And it would have been good without him, but now even better with him.
It is very bizarre that we live in an era where a guy can transfer from one school with a ton of money for NIL to another school with a ton of money for NIL. And maybe, look, he knew he was probably going to get it wherever he went, and he was going to, but the fact that, we've just seen the Michigan lose out on an NIL battle on something boggles my mind, but because that's probably a lot what this is about, or maybe just playing in a different league and winning a title.
Who's is it Juwan Howard? Who's the coach? Maybe, I'm not saying that had nothing to do with it, but you never know.
You never know what everything is, but this is a lineup that brings back DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams and probably Kevin McCullough when the whole draft process is over. Then you throw in what they, Uday and those guys that are coming back, plus the other transfers that they've gotten, Arteria Morris and
you're going to go with the whole roster?
Yeah, I mean, it's deep. They were not deep last year, and they won the Big 12.
They were not. And in fact, Self, when he lost to Baylor and Waco, made the comment, this is one of those where it's going to be a war of attrition. And he knew it was not going to just be real easy, even though they ended up being a co-champion of the Big 12. This story, John Rothstein, he didn't break this story, but